Aboro Aboye. Orisa Lifestyle for Beginners. For today's conversation, I want to touch upon one of the most powerful and transformative aspects of Orisa Lifestyle, but at the same time, I would say one of the most neglected and ultimately ignored aspects of the practice that I can even think of. And that is the measurement of your spiritual development. Now, I understand why it's difficult to focus upon the stages of spiritual development because we're talking about our relationship to Olodumare, the Supreme Being, the ultimate reality. And Olodumare is by definition beyond human conception. It's beyond measurement. It's beyond definition, right? So if you can conceptualize it, it's not Olodumare. If you can measure it, it's not Olodumare, right? But at the same time, we should not let that prevent us from creating or recognizing a system that can help us define and track our relationship to the infinite. Okay. And we know that this is helpful when we start to look at other disciplines. When you look at the medical industry, for example, or the medical discipline, more aptly, when you're sick, isn't it so helpful when you can go sit down with the doctor and the doctor can tell you this is what will happen before your surgery, this is what happens during the surgery, and these are going to be the stages of recovery after the surgery. If you have a psychological episode, some kind of a trauma, you lose your job, you get a divorce, someone dies, the psychologist can walk you through the stages of grief and mourning, right? When you do other kinds of disciplines like yoga or martial arts, or if you take a class, you get a degree, there's stages that they can walk you through. They can at least show you the trajectory. This is what it looks like, more or less. You go from this stage to the next stage. It gives you an orientation and a context for this very vast and comprehensive experience. And so it is for Orisa Lifestyle. We have a way to look at our progress and our development in this spiritual tradition. But in order to do that, the first thing we have to do is we got to understand what we're talking about when we are speaking of the spirit. What is this spiritual content, the material that we're working with? And to do that, I want to refer back to Ifa. Not so much the content of Ifa, like Ifa says this or Ifa says that, but the structure of Ifa. We know that in the big picture, Ifa is very vast. There's 256 Odu. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of essay or verses of Ifa that represent, a multitude of facts and facets of reality and principles of life and virtues. And, it's really super comprehensive. But all of the Odu boil down to two very simple variables. You got positive and negative, right? You got black and white. You got masculine and feminine, okay? You got hot and cool. For the purposes of this lesson, I'm going to go with hot and cool, okay? You got hot and you got cool as a spirit, a spiritual essence. And I like that because it's consistent with the pantheon of Orisha, which are also very vast. There are thousands of Orisha, but they all boil down to two variables. You got Orisha Bigbona, hot Orisha, and you have Orisha Tutu, or cool Orisha. Orisha Funfun, Funfun is white, but it's cool. It's not just the color white. It's talking about an energy, cool. Those are the ways that we define the Orisha. As far as I know, I don't know of any other category. You got Orisha Bigbona and you have Orisha Funfun, hot and cold. That's it. And that's consistent with human nature, the essence of the human spirit. You got hot spirited and you got cool spirited. You got people who are, more dense. You got people who are more, who are more open. Okay. Now, all people, however, Enian, we're talking about Enian when we say people. People are fourfold beings. Enian is a fourfold being. You have Ara, the body, you have Okan, the heart, you have Emi, the spirit, and you have Ori, which is the mind. The mind being that aspect of your existence that endures, is forever. The Ori consciousness, the Ori level of being is eternal. It never dies. A person can be more adept at one or the other. Maybe your body consciousness is more predominant. Maybe your spiritual consciousness is more predominant. It's so on and so forth, right? Either way, it's a combination of those four elements that make up Enya, the human being. If you've taken my classes, this is redundant. You know this already. If you have my book, at least particularly the fundamentals of Orisa lifestyle, you're already familiar with this. But for everyone who's unfamiliar with this, this is it's a short, brief intro to the blueprint of the human spirit, the anatomy of Yoruba spirituality, which is absolutely necessary in order for us to understand how we're going to measure our progress and our development. Okay, and if we can't measure it, then we can't track it, and we can't really determine whether or not we're achieving what it is we want to achieve, which becomes important when we look at the fact that we have so many rituals, we have so many ceremonies, we have so many icons, and it's easy to fall into the temptation or the trap of acquiring things. You got beads, you got pots, you get titles, but you never are being exposed to what happens, what's supposed to occur within yourself when you get those beads. What happens when you have that pot? What's supposed to be cultivated within yourself when you achieve this title? Like, what is the internal process and experience that's transforming your life as a result of doing these different things? And that is where we really focus our work in the Orisa Lifestyle Academy. Okay, and I know it's a kind of a redundant statement, but it has to be said 1,000 times, because when you think about it, where do you get introduced to yourself and all of your experiences? What is it that you're learning and cultivating that truly allows you, invites you to, or requires that you face yourself? Okay, and so it should absolutely be the case with your spirituality, that everything you do is allowing you to face yourself. Okay, so that's why we do what we do, the way that we do it. Now, on to this, the real nuts and bolts of the stages of spiritual development. Now that you know that there's hot and cool energy, and you know that the Enneon is a fourfold being, let's look very briefly at the stages of development. You've got 5 distinct stages. There's really 4 stages, in my estimation, 4 stages with 1 pre-stage. The pre-stage is ignorance. Okay? You don't know what's going on. Things just happen. They happen. Good things happen, bad things happen. Things I like, things I don't like. It's just, you don't know why. There's no way for you to figure it out. It's just like in a pot, bubbling, blah, 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 blah. You don't know what to make of it. Then you put your foot on the path and you enter into the first stage of spiritual development. And that is knowledge. Okay, you know something. Something has awakened within you, and you can distinguish between, chaos and order. Somehow you understand, like, this all is not random. I'm going that way. I know that there's some direction that I'm going. Okay, knowledge. Then there's the stage of awareness. Then there's the stage of control, and it is all optimized at the stage of empowerment. Okay, now what we're doing at this point is we're overemphasizing empowerment. We're empowering people without really giving them knowledge or awareness or any kind of control. But the end result is empowerment. The key, however, is power for a cool spirit is not the same as power for a hot spirit. Power for someone who is spiritually adept is not the same as power for someone who is physically adept. Okay? And so it's important that we understand that we we match our vision with our methodology, and we match our methodology with our we match our methodology, the spirit, the methodology, and the content, the raw material that you're working with. They all have to be consistent. Okay. If you're cool, there's going to be a process, and there's going to be an outcome. If you're hot, there's a slightly different process, and there's going to be a slightly different outcome. Okay. It's very important. It's very important. And it's mostly important for you. You need to know that for yourself. You need to have that template and that framework within your own consciousness and be working from that in everything that you do. And so the work that we are dedicating ourselves to in the Orisa Lifestyle Academy is 100% devoted to that. The first stage of development within the academy is self-discovery. All of the things that I just described, all the courses, the books, the certifications, the travel, everything is geared around, first and foremost, helping you get into the practice of self-discovery. Next is developing a daily practice, cultivating a regular system of activities that are going to enhance who you are. And then finally, taking all of this energy and this expertise and this precision that you develop and focusing it squarely onto a service, to a group, to a cause, to a person, to something that you are destined to serve. Okay? And those are the channels of developing spiritual development for the embetterment of transforming your life and transforming the lives of those who you're destined to serve. Aboro aboye, aboshishe.